All right, well, this is another little project in mid-process of my other project that's going on, as you may or may not see in order. But this one come in here. It's a Dana 44 rear axle housing for a International Scout. So neat little deal. But it's got a little boo-boo. Turns out the pinion gear had a fight with the ring gear, and so they duked it out and they punched through the wall. From my understanding, what happened is the pinion nut came loose, allowed the pinion gear to slide back, and of course caused havoc inside. And so it became a battle, and something lost, the housing lost. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind it up, weld it up, glue it back together, get it back to the customer. So hang tight. All right, so one of the first things I would want to do is to kind of start beveling this material. It's most likely going to be very thin. It looks to feel like maybe 3/16 or 1/4 inch thin, so I can't go too much. And I will do the obvious, what I can see. Then I use the die penetrant to follow the cracks even further. We got a couple cracks here that need attention, so we'll dig into them and see how far or how long they are. All right. One of the things I'll do here is I'll end up smoothing out all these pores, these cast pores, so that when I put the die penetrant, it'll be more visible instead of just following the pores or getting in there. And I can always put this texture back on here with a needle scaler afterwards. So let me smooth it out, because I'm about at that point of needing to, or wanting to, put the die penetrant. Okay, so I don't want to get too crazy because I am actually removing parent metal, right? And so you don't want to make it any thinner than necessary. But it was just a light pulsing with the sander or the flap disc to kind of get all these pores smooth. That way I can tell when I put that penetrant, it'll show a little bit better. So let me do that next, and that way we can kind of see if I was even close to the lines. It's hard to tell sometimes because they tend to wander off. Let's see. Almost a little much now. It's always a happy medium. Either you love it or you hate it. In both situations. Either spray's good and too much, or too little. I don't know. One of those crazy things. All right, let's wait for it to dry. All right, so it looks like we're on the right track. I got some more crack exposed there, at least nowhere in the center of it, at least. So that's good. Now I just continue on over here, kind of cleaning up that whole area. I guess I got to the bottom of this one. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't look to be showing through. And same thing with this one. So we'll go a little bit thicker. Let me see. Let me see. There's a way of measuring that thickness. All right, let me grind it. Well, I was hoping not to do that, but at least we know where the nose are on the money. Man, this stinks. Okay, so now I'm feeling around from the inside. I feel the crack goes a little bit higher up here. Yeah, and this guy comes down here. So I think we're doing good. I just widened this guy out. Ooh, it's warm. Widen this guy out down here, smooth it out, and then we can just preheat this thing up and weld it up. It's looking all right. Okay, well, that looks to be it. Well, a lot of people who have issues with these things, sometimes they'll say that they always end up leaking, and sometimes they do, mostly because they tend to use the wire machine. The wire machine, the first instant of weld normally isn't the best penetrating weld, so they'll have pinholes, or it doesn't fully penetrate immediately when it starts, and so that's where it'll seep out. You know, if you TIG weld it, maybe TIG braze it, or fill it with something via TIG process, then that's much cleaner, and you'll be able to see that you penetrated the whole thing, because it's such a small arc and you can see where you're going, and it does a really good job. And then if you stick weld it, well, very similar. It's a hot weld instantly, so it can bite into the material real easily as well. And that's actually the way I'm going to do it. I'm gonna make stick weld it just for fun. I'm out of practice, and 332 is hard only in the sense that it's such a thin rod that it tends to shake a lot if you're not absolutely still. 1/8 inch, not a problem. You can keep that rod very still, but 332 is a little flimsy, and those that are more experienced with 332 know exactly what I mean. Now, you may be steadier than I am, so you may not have the same problem as I do, but I need to keep up my stick welding because I've been lacking lately. So I stick weld it, clean it up, blend it in, put some specs on it with the needle scaler, and you won't even see that it's there. So let's clean this up and get it preheated. One of the things I may do is put a weld on the inside first. What's going to happen is I'm going to bust through that cast. There's just no way around it, because I feathered it out so thin, and I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't know how thick it was. So I put a decent weld on here, and that way this is nice and smooth. And the opposite side, I can still grind, right? I can't really grind in here, so being as I can make a nice, or hopefully a nice pass, right? Fill that up in there so it's nice and smooth, then I can attack the outside with ease. Now, had I done it the other way, I could possibly have very bad porosity, not porosity, but inclusions coming out inside here. The weld could have dripped inside, and then it would have been real trouble to access it. So do this one first, that way that's nice and smooth, then you can access the outside, right? All right, let's get this preheated. All right, break out the old trusty Mr. Heater. For those of you that don't remember, I made some modifications to this thing. I was having issues. It would give me an error code on the computer, or we completely bypass the computer. So Now it's a matter of turning the fan on, hitting the spark, and then it's on. Just like that. So it works pretty good. Oh yeah, it'll warm up here shortly. All right, what we want it to do is just to be a heat soaked. We want it to be nice and hot thoroughly. So sometimes you can over rush it with a rosebud or a big propane torch. It expands too quickly. So this will definitely get it hot enough. You know, now I can just go out, grab a sandwich, go eat, and come back 10-15 minutes, and this would be hot. So let's pause there. Woo, that's hot. Okay, it's very dark, but you can tell now it got plenty hot. All the grease kind of seeped out from different spots. Now, am I gonna struggle? Yes, I'm gonna struggle a lot because I already made a hole, and it looks like another one developed, another hairline crack developed in there, way back in there, right in this area right here. So I'll have to see. I'll have to see what happens. Maybe a hole will punch and fall out. It's not gonna be fun. But either way, I'm gonna stick weld it. And why stick weld it? Why not? All right, so it will be a challenge, but once I get this nice and smooth, it should be fine. And then at least, if I put at least a decent sized weld in there to cover that, then what I can do afterwards is sand that down slightly with a flap disc, a round one, to ensure that the gear doesn't hit it. And then we can weld from the opposite side. So this thing is nice and hot now. I think it's 260 something. I mean, it's hot enough. So I gotta get after it while it stays warm. Now the first few passes are gonna stink because I already made that hole. But oh well, it is what it is. All right. All right, so I got that a little bit welded up there. Oh, where's it at? There you go, like that. That looks to be pretty good. I'll have to look at it. Not bad. That last weld, man, I added too much. But either way, that can be sanded down. All right, let me turn this over, preheat it again a little bit, and start on the top side. All right, a little more preheat. All right, so that is welded up now on both sides. I can probably buff that down a little bit with the flap disc, and I think I'll do that, remove the high spots. But other than that, it's just a matter of letting this thing cool. But so this thing is like crazy hot. You don't want to touch it. But let me go ahead and sand some of those high spots down, and hopefully they don't touch the pinion gear. We'll see. All right, so just like that, I am done. And actually, I let this sit overnight. I let it sit overnight just to be sure that it was gonna hold. And what I did is I poured diesel in there. I spilled a lot, but anyway, so I poured diesel in there to see if there was any cracks that came through. So it looks really good. I put the dye penetrant spray on there, and you know it would show a wet, right, a wet spot if it was leaking, so, or if there was any crack. So as I mentioned before, you know, we don't have to be the greatest welder. You know, you saw some of the welds that I had. They weren't the best, but they hold, right? And so if you follow a decent weld procedure, to say you gouge as deep as you can, and in this case I was able to weld from both sides, which have helped out tremendously, then you can, you know, have good success. So don't shy away from trying it. You can definitely you know, definitely have some good success with you know, a simple procedure. All right, so that should do it. Get back to my my rat killing, my line boring, and you know, we'll see which video comes out first. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something.